Bye. Okay, I believe Maestro should be coming in. There's. Ah, there he is, the man of the hour.
How are you, ladies?
Hello.
What's going on? Homework.
Oh, boy.
What's up?
You're sounding a little far away. Can you
I am.
turn your
I'm
volume up?
I'm not far away. I'm in my house. That's far from you. I mean,
Yeah, that's true.
if you say come closer, my dear, I
Come
will.
closer, my dear.
All right, all right.
There
See?
we go. Okay, now I know.
There he is.
Now we know how to get results.
That's my friend Mike.
Mike.
Okay. Mike's on the job. Okay,
Well done.
got 40 people in the waiting room, so I'm gonna let him in, okay?
Okay.
Thank you, Penny.
You betcha. It says it's recording, right? You got your recording
Yes.
started? Good. Okay.
Yeah. You're in good shape.
All righty. Admit all.
Somebody named iPad.
Yeah, I know. Okay, they're still coming in. I'm still admitting. There's somebody named iPhone 150.
Mm.
Hello, everyone. Just
Hello.
letting people in.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
South
They're
Bend.
coming in fast and furious. Okay, Maestro, let's start. I'll keep letting people in as they.
Okay.
Sandy.
Good afternoon, wherever you are. Good early evening. It's 2 minutes past 5. Nice to see you all, and this is time to get some questions that you wanted answered. Maybe not get them, but let's see what happens.
Yes, you can type your questions in the chat. And until I get some, if somebody wants to raise their hand, we can do that.
I got a question.
Good. Shoot.
Mr. Carter,
Yes.
you know this man? Earl Bostick? Did you ever?
I
meet
know who
or-
he is. I know he's about 20 years before me.
Oh, yeah, I know. I met him when I was 14.
Wow.
My parents forced me. He was playing 6 night at a club up in Niles, Michigan, 6 nights, and I refused to go the first night. They made me go the second night, and then we went every night. And my father, who, rest in peace, alto player, bass, other instruments, we became friends with Earl. I have some letters from Earl. Just
Oh, wow.
a sweet individual, kind of
Yeah.
like yourself.
Yeah.
And I know his music, but he was a little before my time. But of course, my age group did some homework, and he was one of the guys we listened to.
Yeah, Coltrane played with
Ça.
him.
Earl Bostic. Yeah.
Ah ouais, je sais bien, mais je suis fourré. Je garde-tu ma photo là à moi?
Somebody who I think.
Bonjour, Monsieur Doré. Est-ce que vous pouvez mettre sur mute, s'il vous plaît?
Oui, pas de problème.
Ouais, merci. C'est un plaisir de vous voir.
Raymond
Moi aussi.
Doré.
Merci, Simone.
Il dit Raymond Doré. Tu avais pesé sur le micro.
On vous entend encore.
Ah, un instant.
Voilà, ça marche.
Okay. I have a question in the chat here from, looks like Stephen Wolf. Hi from LA. My question, Maestro, when composing, do you typically begin with a melody, harmony, or rhythm? What's your process as you develop that initial spark of an idea?
Well, I don't have a certain way. I just hope that I can finish what I'm hearing. And my wife doesn't call me for dinner in the middle of the bridge. That's my primary concern. But generally, I just hear a set of changes because bass players, by and large, always hear chords. What I try to do is find out what these chords do and what melody are they implying that they belong to. And then I sit down and I have a pretty good ear and write it down and call Herbie or who the piano players in the band, ask them, does this melody match these bass notes? And they will tell me, yes, or they won't answer. So I know I'm on the wrong track. That's generally how I work out.
Okay, thanks.
Right, thank you.
Oh, Hank Gary, this one, I'm sorry, I have to tell you, Mr. Carter never picks a favorite of anything
Thank you.
because it implies that there's something not as great about everything else. And everything has its own unique,
Value.
value. And so I didn't want to ignore your question. But anyway, that's so anybody who ever asks, what's your favorite anything, musician, recording, maybe food, you could ask him, I don't know, but those, don't ask those. Mark F., did you play with or know Jaco Pastorius, and what did you think of his style of playing?
I met him very briefly. We had a very short relationship because he didn't stay around the scene too long. He kind of left the concert way before his time. I've heard a lot of the stories about him and his behavior and his general attitudes towards things. I never witnessed any of them. My only contact with him was as a fellow musician who was older, someone who was interested in what he was doing with the Weather Report. I was interested in his version of Donna Lee. And for me, he was just a nice bass player who appreciated good music. Those tales are something that I don't endorse, I don't inquire about, and I'm not interested in assisting them any more life than they have of their own volition.
Do we see Mr. Colucci's birthday hat for you? Maestro, can you see the gentleman?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Chris
This is
Colucci,
it.
wow. Thank you. Oh, we got the whole ensemble.
Hey, Maestro, I'm over on 72nd Street. I'm your neighbor.
Ah, that's Maestro's
Maestro.
applause machine.
Happy birthday.
You're
I'll
welcome.
see you Wednesday. Oh, yeah.
All right, I'll see you. Are you wear your hat?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Okay, we'll get to the hands up people soon. Thaddeus Duff says, when the horns are laying back in a tutti, where should the bass not hit? Right on the beat, a bit behind?
Well, whoever has counted the song off, I'm always assuming that that's where the beat is. And unless my salary drops substantially before the first beat and the second beat, you don't get that beat till he can't stand it. But no, I'm not one of those people who encourage timekeepers, which is what we are basically, to pick their time that clearly is not the same time that the band leader, whoever he or she is counting off that they hope the band will follow. That's our job, and I'm not one of those guys or musicians who play just ahead of the beat or just behind the beat because I know how to do it and I won't be held responsible for someone else is doing it. But no, if the band leader does this, I've told them all, if you don't want to hear this, then don't give me this. You want less than this? Lower the pay.
Okay. I'm going to alternate.
Wait.
Oh,
One more.
all right.
There. That's the end of the tune.
Okay, I'm going to alternate hands up and chats.
Yeah, please
So
feel
keep
free
them
to
coming.
have a question. Come on, I'm not here just to
Okay,
enjoy your
Billy.
looks. Give me some help here.
Billy has a question.
Hello. Yes. Hello, Maestro. Thank you so much for doing this and being here. Happy early birthday.
You're welcome, Billy. Thank you.
My first trip to New York back in 2019, I was 20 years old, and I saw your quartet at the Blue Note. And ever since then, I devoted my life to being a bassist. And ever since then, I've been a full-time working bassist. So I wanted to thank you for your inspiration.
Thank you. Where are you working?
In Atlanta, Georgia.
No wonder I never got a call to go down there. Okay.
You're too kind. Too kind.
Nice to meet you and keep those hands happening.
Yeah, thank you, sir. My question for you is: throughout your career, you have kept a consistent balance between being one of the hardest working sidemen, working in other groups and as a studio musician, and also being a leader of in your own groups and your own compositions. How have you been able to maintain a healthy balance with working in other musicians groups and while maintaining your presence as a premier band leader and composer?
Well, you have to tell me how you define healthy. How do you define the healthy?
You know,
No.
not being, like, oh, I feel like I haven't been working enough on my own stuff, like working with other people, or maybe if, maybe you've been, closed off in your own circle, maybe you want to work with other people. Like, how do you maintain that balance?
Well, you haven't defined healthy, so I won't be your doctor any longer. I think that I decide when I write yes or no, and it's more of an issue of, do I have time for these projects, whether they're mine or someone else's? Where are the projects located? Are they recording in New York, or are they getting somewhere else? And a lot of things involve with convenience. Who's not available on this day? The band is leaving over here. Can I get there in time for my gigs? Am I teaching class? Do I have students? And there are a lot of factors that go into deciding with whom I'm playing and what my band is working. My groups. It's my group too expensive. I have a 16-piece big band that I'd love to work with, but the band is not able to command the money they need to go out of town, for example. So they're not my priority, but they're clearly my group. And I think I stay healthy when I play with them. So it's one of those kind of things where health is a difficult thing to define, and there are factors that determine that out of my control.
Thank you, Maestro. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Matt Evans asks, were you influenced by other bassists when you were starting out?
Can everybody mute, please? Everybody except the person talking.
Okay, so what was the question again?
Were you influenced by other bassists when you were starting out?
No.
Okay. Kelly Bass. Bass?
It's Bass. Hello, Maestro.
Hello.
I'm a trend, like I've been a classical double bassist for the past 7 years, but I'm working on getting into playing jazz. And I wanted to ask you, what would you suggest for someone with like classical background to like practice and like listen to in order to like make that background work become second nature, so when you're in like a combo or an ensemble you can like feel more delved in the music rather than feeling like you're just reading charts?
Hey, well, that's about 9 questions. Why don't you hang around and decide which of those 9 are most important for you to answer? I will answer those 2 questions that are really critical to you. It isn't that your questions that you're asking are not important to be answered, but I think you have other issues in mind that are getting in the way of the other questions that are just kind of like fluff or like leaves in the wrong place. So think about 2 of those questions, 2 of those 6 you just asked, and I will answer if you stay back and get them answered.
Yes. Stay there. Keep your hand up. We'll come back to you. Okay.
Yes.
Rick Jackson says, Maestro, what would you recommend for high school students who enjoy classical to branch out to jazz? My son is a sophomore and loves the French horn.
He should try to find recordings of Julius Watkins, one of the early jazz French horn players who I made records with back in the mid-'60s, early '70s. A wonderful French horn player who made called Julius Watkins.
That video right now, right when I get on the car. Okay.
Secondly, I would ask him if he's really interested in being a jazz player. Do 3 things. 1, try to find records by Julius Watkins. 2, get together with musicians or a musician who teaches harmony and theory. And 3, listen to Thad Jones, who's a wonderful cornet and trumpet player, but he plays such great notes with a great different kind of sound, as different as a French horn sound is a French horn. So those are my 3 recommendations to you, and then expect to get some really good lessons from those recommendations.
Thank you so much, sir.
You're
It's been
welcome.
an honor.
Thank you.
Chris Tate?
Hey, thanks so much for putting on the Zoom meeting, and happy early birthday. I'm a jazz cellist here at the Berklee College of Music, and I am a really big fan of your work with on Eric Dolphy's record Out There when you played cello. And I'm just very intrigued by your approach, because I've heard many different bass players like try to play cello, and like, you know, particularly like Dave Holland, you know, comes at it, I would say, with like a much more classical approach. But I hear you playing like really, really awesome rhythmic ideas, and it has this feel that I rarely hear cellists play. Could I hear like a little bit more about your approach to playing cello, and also like who are your cello inspirations?
Well, first of all, Chris, you'd have to ask those bass players who play cello, how's the cello tuned?
Well, I know Dave Holland tunes it in fifths. I'm pretty sure. Well, yeah. How did you tune it in that Dolphy record?
ADGC.
Yeah,
like
the correct way.
A lot of bass players during that time, those times, would play a cello-sized bass, and they would be tuned like a bass. Sam Jones, L.D. Young, a lot of Oscar Pettiford, who did some great things on it, but it was not the cello as you and I broadly define a cello with its tuning. I think one of the things that interests me in the cello is it's easier to play fifths because it's the cost of it, the instrument tuning itself. And I don't play like a string bass. I play like a distinctly different instrument that has different fingering issues. You're more familiar with using the bow because that's how cellos are broadly played, given your early classical introduction to music on the cello. And 3, if you listen to our records, listen to them as a bass player, not as a cellist. And see how those intervals I played don't fit the normal bass kind of location because the strings are tuned completely different. And see how that feels.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Nice hat.
Thank you.
Although I like Chris's better.
Well, Michael Deneen asks, after lots of rock and roll, I'm learning how to get between chords now in my 70s. It's hard and slow. How do I know if I should hang it up?
You get between what and what? I'm sorry, I didn't get that last. Huh?
Between chords. After lots of rock and roll, I'm learning how to get between chords now.
I'd recommend you find someone who knows Bach chorales really well and find out how he manages to manipulate very simple harmony into a great long pieces of somehow no more than 24, 28 bars the length of a chorale, and see how he connects the chords. I assume you mean that, connecting chords rather than just the changes themselves. I like to think of a line not just from the if I got a 16 bar phrase song, I'm not just stopping at the first chord. I'm concerned with how can I not to make this phone ring when I'm in conversation. Hold on a minute.
We'll be back in a sec. Must have been very important. I'm sorry.
That's not like him.
I know. That must have been something. Okay,
Well, you know the
so,
answer, Penny.
Please.
The answer is it's someone who's an expert in playing the back chorals so they can explain how to get between the chords.
thank you. Here he is. Okay.
That's my sock manager. Thank you.
Your sock broker?
Yeah. I lost my thought about the question, so if you can give me another chance to answer it, if you say half of it again.
Oh, okay. This is learning, get between the chords.
Yes.
How do I know if I should hang it up?
Yeah. That's a hard question to answer until I hear you play and see how you see what changes. My thought to you originally before
Excuse
my
me, Penny.
Yeah.
Penny, do you think you reach out to that 717 number because they're not muting and there's a lot of sound that's coming in for people?
Oh, okay. I will.
I'm sorry, Maestro, to
Oh, no, I
interrupt.
see them
No
here.
problem.
Okay, thank you, Simone. I
Ah,
know.
voila. So it did. Okay, thank you. Thank
Okay.
you.
If you have a 16-bar phrase, you don't just play the first bar. You have to find out how do you want to end this 16-bar phrase. Can you plan a sentence based on your baseline that makes the 16-bar phrase complete? You want to have this, what do you notes that you're playing, what are they supposed to do? Where are they taking the song? How are they making a statement in 16 bars of your word structure, in this case, bass notes, to make the 16-bar phrase a complete statement, and it stops when you stop the line, rather than just thinking one bar or one word at a time. Okay?
I'm going to jump in and say thank you, Maestro.
You're welcome. Don't jump too high. I'm an old man.
Mr. Doré.
Yes.
Here I am.
Hello, Maestro.
How are you?
Very good. Calling from Montreal.
Okay, still. Okay.
First of all, early happy birthday.
Thank you.
And you're in very good shape.
I've worked very hard at that. Thank you.
Here's my question.
Okay.
Playing in a trio concept, double bass drums and pianist, how do you deal with the left hand of the pianist if he adds too much to it?
I'll tell you a story, a true story that will give you some humor. And it's a very serious answer. Can you do that?
Yep.
Okay. One of my dear friends I have 4 or 5 of them, of course. One of them was McCoy Tyner. And my first recording with him was out at Rudy Van Gelder's with Joe Henderson and Elvin. And during the course of the first 2 tunes, we were kind of grabbing at straws as to why it wasn't really going well, you know? And so I decided to take a chance that McCoy, who's a lovely man, would not be opposed to having someone talk about his playing other than how great it was. So I said, McCoy, what brand of piano do you play now? He said, I play Steinway, man. I said, wow. I said, well, McCoy, do me a favor. Anything for you, Ron? I said, don't play past the S.
Oh. That's a good one.
And he appreciated the humor and he didn't play past the S, at least for that date.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're
Happy
welcome.
early birthday, Mr. Carter.
Thank you.
Dave Torgeson. Oh, thank you for having autographed merchandise in the store. Any autographs coming up, like signed CDs or photos?
Well, hold on. One more thing, Mr. Dorr. Tell your friend don't play past the Y in Yamaha.
Yeah.
We'll have to get a list of all the brands.
Yes.
Put it in the newsletter.
Yes. What was the question?
This is just about autographs. The only thing we have right now with an autograph or the DVDs. Things do come up. We don't know right now what there is. It depends on what comes up. And certainly I'm pretty sure at least for Christmas.
We'll have things for you to autograph.
We'll have things for you to autograph. Okay.
Where are you located?
That's from Dave Torgeson.
Hey, Dave, where are you?
Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I really appreciate the autographs in the store. It's just wonderful to have those.
Thank you. You're from Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Well, the DVDs have autographs now.
And there's another book, the Smithsonian Institute interviews. You have that, Dave?
Not. We don't
But
have
we
an
don't. We don't have that autographed, Maestro, by
I will
you.
autograph if he buys it.
Okay.
He orders it, you'll
Put
get
a
it
note-
autographed.
If you order it on the website, put a note. I'll remember your name, but put a note that Maestro said he would autograph your book.
Wonderful. Thank
And
you.
it may take a little while. It may take a little longer because we'll have to get it to him until we get it to you, but we'll definitely do it. And if anybody is going to Blue Note, please go upstairs in between the first and second set, and Mr. Carter will be happy to say hello and autograph anything. Your broken arm cast or whatever you got.
He's gonna get a penny.
Uh-oh.
Don't start that. Don't start that.
Okay.
He doesn't sign objects.
You heard that.
He
Okay.
doesn't sign objects.
All right. Billy says he'd like to ask a question.
Okay.
Dude, Billy. Are you there, Billy?
Guy's microphone, guy's camera.
Yeah, I'm here. Mr. Carter, can you give me a recommendation for a new amp? I've been playing a Walter Wood 100-watt head for the last 30 years, and it's time to upgrade. Do you have any recommendations?
Yes.
Can you
The
turn
gear
your
I
volume
use.
down a little? It's hard to understand.
Yeah, you turn your volume down, Billy.
George. It's George.
George.
Thank you.
Yes.
Let me show you what I have. George, this is part of my gear by Nick Epifani. Epifani. This is the amp part. It weighs nothing and has a separate cabinet. It sounds fabulous.
Okay.
This is a brand new edition.
That.
I don't swear, but I would buy that. I don't swear by that. Okay. Okay.
Okay. Lhasa asks, what is your best advice for an electric bass player who just switched to practice upright?
Who did just what?
Switched to practice upright. An electric player who is just switching to.
Get an upright teacher. The instruments are so different that you spend your spare time getting frustrated because you can't positively transfer enough information from the electric bass to the upright. Why would you waste that time? Just hire a bass teacher who knows how to play the instrument rather than having you trying to convert your electric bass instrument style and concept to the upright.
Thank you. Now, somebody had their hand up and they went away. I was going to call on him next. I think it was Zenith Apollo Star. Great name. If you're there, you can raise your hand again. Right now, Tony Marino.
Hey, how's it going, Ron?
Dan, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing fine. And by the way, happy birthday to you. I hope you have a
Thank
great
you.
celebration.
Thank
I have
you.
two questions. What was it like working with Billy Joel and Gil Scott-Heron? What were those sessions like?
They're completely different. Gil Scott-Heron, I got the call at the last minute because Brian, his band leader, and the Midnight Band, they called themselves in Washington, D.C., and Baltimore, had in the studio, and they had a difficult time making a record. That's probably just due to a very simple reason that these young musicians were not used to playing in a record date. They try to transfer the enthusiasm, the energy, the volume, the lack of focus, when you have all day to play the songs, in a small confined area called studio. I think because they didn't know this environment and how to adjust their enthusiasm and their focus and their concentration, they didn't get anything done. So I get a call from the producer of Gil for Atlantic Records, who said that he had these guys in there from Washington who were trying to make a record, but they were not experienced enough to know how to do it. Could I come down and make a couple of tracks with them? I said, well, when do you want this done? He said, well, about an hour from now. Well, I just happened to be free, and I got my bass in the car and went down to Atlantic Records, and I made this record called, ultimately, Gil Scott-Heron. The big hit was The Revolution Will Not Be Televised. Billy Joel, I was just kind of another face in the band, and it was just another gig for me. He didn't give me any props. He didn't say, oh, I'm glad you're here. And no, it was just another gig for him. I was just another guy who played bass, who played bass really well. And it kind of ended right there. It was okay, you know. I wasn't trying to be the guy. I'm just kind of play what you want me to play, and I'll play better than somebody else.
Yeah.
More than likely.
No, that's great. No, thanks. Yeah, I was just curious because I know the two different styles.
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah, I'm kind of good at that.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Billy.
Okay,
Tony.
Mr. Starr just came back.
Oh, okay.
So do you have you have your question?
Yes,
for
I have
Maestro?
a question.
Okay.
Zenith?
Yes, Ron.
Yes.
Yeah, Zenith.
Yes.
I'm a piano player. I'm old. When you guys, when you guys did Miles Smiles, did you guys run over the tunes much before you recorded them?
They were brought to the studio the day of the recording. We spent more time making sure the parts were correct, making sure the penmanship was legible, making sure we understood the form, and we took a couple of takes, and that was the take.
So you discussed
no rehearsal. We were all sight reading the parts, huh?
Oh, that's good. So you discussed the harmonic part of it?
Not really, because we didn't really know what they were. We just know that Wayne wrote some nice songs. Herbie had some nice concepts. We understood the broad concept because we had been working together for a couple of years. But there was very little analysis between us on the set or at the date as to what these chords were and what do they mean and that kind of analysis. We just knew the sound in our ear that matched what the other people in the band agreed was a workable interpretation of the harmony. But there was no analysis from us. We didn't have the time, huh?
It was real jazz.
Yes.
I mean, in the moment.
Yes.
Yeah. And I have one more question. Was
Okay.
there any school of harmony like that you studied more than others? Like, did you ever study the Russian composers like Stravinsky, Shostakovich, or did you just mainly stay in the American thing?
Well, I'm not sure that as you define the Russian School of Harmony and the American School, I could define those because I don't know that they really exist in those separate entities. What I spent a lot of time working on is understanding the Bach chorales, understanding how important the bass notes he picked affect the alto, tenor, and soprano of those pieces he wrote. That still fascinates me. It's just amazing that how far ahead he was with that kind of stuff. Excuse me?
Especially the two-part conventions, you know, the one line against the other.
Not that, just the chorales. Just to plunk down the piano and the chorales. Yeah, simple voice leading. How uncomplicated that is on paper. But the ear takes you somewhere else because he's set up these new chord combinations. And that still fascinates me. But if you take Russian harmony and German, I don't know those schools of thought at all.
Well, yeah, I guess that would be German, wouldn't it?
Well, what was he? I don't know. He's the organ player.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think he lived in Germany.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So you up?
And I got one more question. Where did you guys buy your suits?
Well, I have mine made. I don't know what those other guys.
Man, you know, that is superb.
Yeah, they look great. You know, when I go to work at night, I want to feel like I want to feel like I play good.
Yeah, man, you look cleaner than a motherfucker, man.
Oh, careful. But that is true. Yeah, a better phrase is I'm cleaner than the Board of Health.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Max Carbone says, I'm working as a tour manager with Miroslav
Vitus
and Jaco Pastorius. I'm not sure about. I have organized a concert of Miles in Bolzano. I love jazz and all your music and bass lines. It's not a question. Ciao from Italy. Ciao, Mr. Carbone.
Bye. Thank you.
Jeff Newton. You have to unmute there. We still don't hear you.
Jeff, you got your mute on.
Oh, did you say Dan? I'm sorry, I missed that. So I have a question for you about Rudy Van Gelder, but the first thing I wanted to say was when I was young, I got to see you at the Both And Jazz Club with Miles and Tony and Ron and Herbie. Absolutely one of the greatest concerts that I have ever heard. That was a great little club. And you gave me a thumbs up on a Yusef Lateef interview that I put on my YouTube channel, and I'm glad you enjoyed that.
Yeah, Yusef was a wonderful guy. He had a great sound for the playing on all those Arabian and Turkish scales he would discover, and playing oboe. I mean, and knowing how to circular breathe. He was really quite an inventor of the saxophone concept that he would develop. I enjoyed meeting him, and I didn't meet him until I came back from Detroit. I left Detroit when I was 18 and was not a jazz player. When I came back to Detroit, next time I was working with a jazz band, and we just kind of fell into a nice, comfortable conversation about classical music and jazz music and making records. And it was a nice man to know, especially in the short brief of time I had to meet him.
He was a real gentleman.
Yes.
So I had a question about working at Rudy Van Gelder's studio. Did he participate much, or did he remain in the background when you guys were recording? And what do you think made his studio so special? Because there's so many great recordings that have come out of there.
I missed the first part. That Rudy getting involved with Rudy's involvement. He was the engineer. He's already involved. I'm not sure what kind of level you expect him to have.
Well, I wondered if he put his personality into it, like, hey, let's do this again, that kind of thing.
No. That's not his job. His job in those days, and I'm sure it's changed as producers have gotten more and more know-it-all-ish, make a phrase. His job was to get the band sound as clear and as identifiable as Rudy's Van Gelder sound as he possibly could. He always had the latest gear. He always maintained his gear to the nth degree. With me, he took a personal interest. I went to Rudy's house on weekends, Saturday afternoon, for about three or four months or so, for 2 hours, just to figure out how he could record the bass better. He wanted to do that. He insisted that he found a way to record me at the studio. So my sons would be in the corner reading books, and we'd be trying to figure out what's the best microphone, what's the best placement, what's the best room, what's the best pickup. This would go on like 4 or 5 visits after Rudy Van Gelder's, to the extent that when I'd walk in there, he would have a sigh of relief, go, well, I know how to record this guy. Everybody else is on their own, basically. And a wonderful man. I miss him dearly. And those records we made in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 200s, 205s, 210s are still proof of what an engineering ear he had to make the sound of the instrument and the bass sound like Rudy Van Gelder's studio.
Great. All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. I said Jeff Newton. Can you unmic?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. Happy birthday, Ron.
Thank you.
I enjoyed your show with Catalina, and I noticed that all the band members really communicated with each other very well. Like Jimmy would play off you, you would play off the drummer, and you know, you could tell you were a cohesive working group. Okay, so when I go to a jam session, a place like Smalls or whatever, I notice a lot of the rhythm section players are not listening to the soloist, whether it's me or somebody else. So my question is, how, as a soloist, can I politely get the cats to listen to what I am doing without being rude?
I think rude is part of what it takes. I think no one tells those piano, bass players, and drummers that they have to kind of understand that while they're in the background, they're still beholden to what kind of concept the saxophone player, in this case you, are trying to help them fall into in a set of changes. I think, and this is, I have to be careful when I say this, a lot of those rhythm section groups, they're really not interested in anything but themselves, and it's really too bad. And they want to do their thing, whatever it is. I think they miss the fun of having a great time when they leave this session, that they help someone sound better. I think if they can understand that view of what it takes to get called back to those gigs, you know, and get a little higher salary for the next come around, is that you're just one of the chains in this big wheel, and your job is to help this wheel be as smooth as possible. And if you would you rhythm section would just stop for a moment and stop trying to play the shit you learned from somebody else's record, or a lick you learned from a McCoy Tyner record or Herbie Hancock, and listen to what your sound is. Are you voicing a chord that allows the bass player's notes to do something that you hadn't thought of? That you allow the saxophone player to not need to play a million notes to cover up whatever it is you guys are trying to do on your own to become well known in New York? You know, I think Jeff, I think one of the reasons I work all the time is that I trust my instinct to find out what the horn player is looking for, and how quickly can I find out what that is. And once I find that out, how soon can I let him not do it again?
Yeah,
I'm really good at that, man. You know, but I think that the rhythm section guys could just step back and understand that they just want 1/4 times 4 pieces of a puzzle. They can't work without them cooperating with the shape of the puzzle. You get famous in tune enough times. Maybe if you keep doing that, you probably won't.
okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
One other quick question. What do you think of Jimi Hendrix?
Who?
Jimi Hendrix.
Jimi Hendrix?
Yeah.
He's a guitar player.
Okay, I mean, his music, his concept, do you think he would have been playing jazz had he stayed around longer?
I never met him, never heard much of him play other than a few hot records, so I couldn't tell if he was interested in finding out what the other guys were doing, or he was just a man and he was going to enjoy that space he was put in. I have no idea. I like to think though, if we played together, if I was on that day, he would stop that wah-wah shit and listen to my notes.
I hear you. Okay, thank you very much, Ron.
You're welcome. Emma? Oh, Emma. Hello, Emma. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you, Mr. Cardi?
Good.
Nice to see you. You look
Thank
great.
you. What question can I answer for you?
I have a question that has a couple parts. I was wondering what the most common weaknesses you see in younger players nowadays.
What, Emma?
Sorry, I was wondering what the most common weaknesses you see in young players, what skills and concepts you strive to cultivate in your students, and how your approach as a teacher and mentor has evolved over time.
Okay, I think a couple of things that concern me about young bassists, whatever the age, you know, I think they haven't gotten involved in building a bass line. They don't have a plan to have an order of notes in their head that spell out a chord or spell out a series of chords. I think they have no scheme of how you make these choices. They get involved with maybe the volume or the amount of ink they got for the last concert they did, and ink meaning reviews. You I think the second thing I'm concerned with is most of them have not really sat down and figured out how to read music. They can't understand anyone else's concept of what they think they hear. I think a successful bass player is the one who has his concept, but is not only willing, but able to adjust his concept to the direction of a written piece, a bass line, or a concept of a song that's not something he wrote. And it's not necessarily his band. And I think the third thing is that they don't have teachers. Most of them are kind of doing it on their own.
Right?
Yes, sir.
She won state, I read.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Hey, congratulations. She's a great girl.
Somebody's
She
got
could
to
be
mute
both-
Excuse
themselves.
me,
She'll be there. Yep.
She will.
Somebody
ladies and gentlemen, there's somebody who's not muted.
Focused on.
trying to see if I can
Especially,
see
yeah.
who it is.
I don't know. I mean,
I think I got him.
Thank you.
Are you finished with your answer, Maestro?
No, I was trying to get to Ms. Dayhoff's other question. The last question was, am I getting better as a teacher? The answer is yes.
Yeah.
There have been times, Ms. Dayhoff, when I've ended the lesson by thanking the student for coming to the lesson. Because at that time of the lesson, he or she, was finally open to understanding what a student's responsibility is. And how many responsibilities. One of the responsibilities is to trust my judgment. Not because I'm famous. I do something. I have enough I'm sharing information with you, student, whoever you are, that helps you find your path. And for you to come to a lesson not prepared, that means you have not given me a chance to help you get better, because you have not done the assignment I've assigned you, which I can work with you to help you get better. Yeah. And for the number of variety of students I have had, I feel that all of them have helped me understand how best to teach. I have this little device. I'm kind of a cold-blooded guy, because when it's terrible, I let them know. And just so they don't get too bent out of shape, when they get it right, I give them this. And they do just what you did. If I can get them to do that, the lesson was a success, and they'll come back next week better prepared. By the way, I didn't have this when you were here, but you should have had this a couple of times.
Yeah.
Better late
Thank
than
you.
never.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
You too.
Feel free to email me sometime.
Okay, I will.
Okay. Doctor, right?
Yes, sir, and professor now. So.
Okay. Prof. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Uchiyama says.
Before you do that, Miss Kelly is back. And I told her she whittled her
Kelly,
questions.
yes, welcome
She
back.
had 15 questions in the
Yes,
paragraph.
you're-
She could whittle them
yes.
down to 2 or 3. I could answer most of them. So, Miss Bass, can you give me your questions? I'll do the best I can to not make you feel silly.
Yeah, I've brought it down to one for
Okay.
now. What kinds of practice do you suggest for a beginner like jazz bass player
Okay, stop right there.
has
Stop right there.
previous?
That's one
Okay.
question. There are a lot of books that offer beginning bass players how to learn the bass. My broad view on this bass is that the books they generally find are classical bass books, as I started out. And the classical concept of playing the bass is different than what I've evolved with my playing. So obviously, if a young bass player wants to study the bass, I'd recommend to him or her my book, because it's based on what I've evolved doing for 60. I've worked on this process since 1937. 75 years I've been playing this concept. And I've been able to verbalize and put in the book that helps them play the bass based on a different concept than Samandel or Bilet or Strauss or the German or Russian books. I recommend they get my books for this reason. They're based on 2 primary things, Kelly, don't mind. One is how to play the bass vertically, not horizontally? And 2, what chords am I trying to play in this process? And how many can I play without moving? That's not the classical broad concept. They want you to play scales like this and fast. Well, that's one way to play the bass. And I did that for a really long time. And I got pretty good at it. You know, I worked, I did classical orchestras, first person to color over. Yeah, okay. But if I was to teach a student now, as I do now, some beginning students, this is what about my book. Not just because it's my book, but because it's my book. It's my concept on how to play the bass, and how I've learned through these years to put in a format that's easily taken care of and learned by somebody. If you take it by yourself, no teacher, it's written so you can still understand the broad concept of the book. That's question number 1. The second one.
The second one would be how would you suggest practicing that chordal idea
I
on
have
the
a book for
double
that too.
bass?
It's called Blueprint for the Jazz Bassist. Nice pictures. And can I call you Kelly? In my books,
Yes, you
they
can.
have each page, certain pages have QR codes. You know what QR code is? You go to your scanner, you scan this QR code, and it plays an exercise for you, me, on film and sound, of what you're looking at.
Thank you, Mr. Courtney, for holding up the books.
Just a minute.
Hold it a little closer, Maestro. There you go.
See that, Kelly? That exercise is on this page. And this book has 4 or 5 of them like that. Just the cover.
Okay. Thank you so much.
And I have 4 or 5 books that have QR codes for a specific page. So you can actually go to that QR code to YouTube and see me playing the exercise that's kicking your ass. More or less.
Every book has QR codes.
More or less.
Yes, yeah, it's like a CD, but
Yeah.
without the book.
Whatever. It's the actual exercise on this paper with the QR code that shows you me actually playing on the film, not just the sound. Yeah, good color. I'm looking fine. I'm wearing a tailored suit, like my friend asked about just now. Yeah, that kind of stuff.
Thank
Okay?
you so much.
You're welcome. Can we do Paul Foster? Been up over for a while. Mr. Foster?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you very much for taking my question. Early happy birthday, by the way.
You're welcome.
I wanted to know if you record with ribbon mics or if you have a recommendation.
I've kind of trusted those engineers to play what they're used to using. What I'm most concerned with, Mr. Foster, is they tell me that they're going to equalize my sound. And the first thing I say is no. And the second thing I say is I have my own equalizers.
Yeah.
Called thinkers.
Right.
And once they stop getting bent out of shape, they understand.
Right.
But guys, I know how to make this work. That's what I've been doing for a while,
75 years, you kind of get it.
And I'm getting better every hour.
I also wanted to know what you held up the Epiphany that you're using now.
Yes.
What are you using an Epiphany cabinet as well?
Yes.
What size speaker?
A 2. I have a 10 and a 12.
Oh, okay.
12 is for 12 is for big bands. 10 is for the quartet or trio.
Gotcha. Okay. Have you ever played a acoustic image head?
Yes. When they first came out, I talked to the guy who made them, and I want to see how they work because they were small, they were kind of portable, they were not very expensive at the time, you know. And I explained to him, as I understood the amp, that it stayed on the floor, and you pointed the cabinet up, the speaker up toward your ear, basically. That's correct?
Yes.
And I explained to him one of the reasons I couldn't use this amp with any real seriousness that I played on various size floors, various stages. For example, the Vanguard has no stage, so the cabinet, the basic amp is on the floor literally. The stage at the Blue Note is a stage with a 4-foot air beneath it, which covers all, contains music stands and the junk, the drum case and stuff like that. If I'm playing outside, it's on the steel cage, there's no air around the amp, it's on the floor basically. And I explained to him because the amp is going to respond to that kind of environment. I couldn't depend on it sounding the same when I changed locations.
Right.
And the person very, very comfortably told me, yeah, okay, but we got our concept. I said, well, I'm comfortable saying thank you and hung up. That was okay.
Yeah.
That's my story.
Gotcha. Understand. Yeah, I've seen photographs with you having the speaker on the stand
I have to do
so
that.
you can hear it.
I want the speaker above everybody. I don't want to go to the drummer's back. I don't want to point to this bass drum. I want it near my left ear.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Foster.
Matt Evans.
Can you hear me?
Matthew? Matt?
Yes, sir. Hello, Mr.
Yes.
Carter.
How are you?
Good, sir. Good to speak with you, and thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Okay.
What can you tell us about the particular bass that you're using these days?
Well, I'm not sure these days because I've used two basses in the past year just to see how the second one works. The first one I used I bought in 1960 or so, the Juzek, made in 1910, assembled in the States. That's on almost all the records I make. We call it the Miles Davis bass. It's a regular size 3/4. It's nothing unusual about it except it sounds fabulous. And I've had the same bass for 70 years trying to find out how that sucker finally works. The second bass I have, as I've looked for a second bass for many years just because I thought I needed one, is a Chinese bass that's assembled in New York, one of the last few that made the trip over. It's got a different wood in the back than it does on the sides. It sounds really great. And because I'm working fewer hours than I did early in my career, it's taken me a little bit longer to understand what it can do and breaking it in because I'm not playing it so often. It's a little lighter in weight than what I'm used to playing, but it's starting to get a nice round sound and it's starting to play evenly across the board. It will do that better if I play a bass more often.
Yeah. Can I have one more question?
Sure.
What do you think of today's music scene compared to when you were first starting out?
Well, that's the easy answer. It's completely different. There's almost no jazz on the radio. There's almost no jazz on TV. There's very limited jazz on movies. One or two college stations may have a college-sponsored jazz station. There are fewer main clubs on the tour of the States. The kids today, the young musicians today, have a difficult time finding places to play or different variety of music to hear because those sources are no longer available.
Why do you think that is?
Other than a smaller fan base in theory, there's a bigger fan base for other musics, hip hop and reggae and the beat guys. The other musics got more attention. My simple answer would be that the people who control the airwaves and the companies found they can make a larger buck more quickly to have this music than some of the other music that doesn't do very well. If you look carefully, the classical stations have fallen off in number. So not just the jazz community, the music in general has changed. The taste has changed. And the people who are involved with that industry are making a living, okay, at the expense of other musics. Well, That's what that is.
Agreed.
I'd like to have a nicer answer for you, but I can't find one right now.
No, I agree. I agree. It seems the tastes have become less sophisticated over the years.
Well, I'm not going to go that far because I think people who listen to what I play, they're pretty fucking sophisticated, man.
I agree. Agree.
All both of them.
I agree. Thank you, Mr. Carter. I appreciate it so much.
You're welcome. Ron Brazil, you had your help for a while. Mr. Brazil?
Bazil, thank you very much, Mr. Carter. It's very great to meet you.
Thank you.
Indulge me for just a moment.
I'm sitting. Go ahead.
Back in 1986, off stage at Constitution Hall in Washington, D.C., I was a student at Howard University. In fact, I was a member of the university's jazz ensemble at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you were there amongst who's who of people for a Thelonious Monk tribute. Bill Cosby and Debbie Allen were MCs, and you were just so gracious to autograph the program that evening, which I still have. So thank you very much for that.
Mm-hmm.
My question then, it's more from my wife. She's also from Detroit. So she wanted just a honeydew. Just ask him this question. So as a Detroiter, in your early years, and you may have already answered this question, so I apologize, but
no.
Who are your influences? What got you started as a bassist, and was it in fact your Detroit roots?
Okay. How to answer this so that no one feels embarrassed. When I was in Detroit, I was not a jazz player. I was a classical player. I knew no one on the jazz scene. I didn't know Yusuf Lateef and Barry Harris, Kenny and Bob Burrow. I knew none of Curtis Phillips. I knew none of those guys. That was a whole separate scene from my household. I was a classical player from age 12 until I graduated from Cass Tech, which is the fall of 1955. I didn't become a jazz player until I got away in college. So the jazz scene in Detroit, whatever it was, I was not a part of it. As a matter of fact, when I came home from my first vacation from college at Eastman School of Music, I came home for the summer. I had learning tunes and stuff like that, and there was a place called the World Stage, if you go that far back. And the World Stage had jam sessions for friends when big name guys came to town, singles, and they'd meet at this place called the World Stage, and all the local jazz players would meet them and they'd just play, Well, so I had on my nice suit, and I went to the place, and I said, and then who's playing? It had to be like Chet Baker, He said, well, can anybody play? I said, yeah. I said, well, can I play? He said, who are you? I said, who I am. I said, nobody knows you. You can't play. I said, really? Unfortunately, I could not transport this person 40 years from that day to see that I'm on the last 5 records Chet Baker ever made. And I have a different suit that looks just as good.
I'm sure it did. And my wife will be very happy to know that that you graduated from Cass, as she did.
Yay! Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. This is an honor.
You're welcome. Thank you. Brazil with no R. Okay, I got that.
Yes.
We'll have time for like 2 more questions, I think. So let's see.
Can we do
Ruth Gomez,
Yes.
You've been most patient. Thank you.
Ruth
Thank you
Gomez
so
Sierra.
much.
Yes, ma'am. How are you?
Maybe you remember me. I was talking with you in one of the sessions last first day of January in Christmas. I'm seeing her. I'm here. I'm from Spain in this moment, and I just wanna tell you once again that it's really amazing to feel you. In this moment, there are only just a few musicians that inspire in a spiritual way, not only with a right form of music, through how the sound flows through the inside. And you really inspire me so much in this way. So I'm here to say you a really happy birthday and wish you my best. Really, I don't have any question. Just I'm here for you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's lovely. Thank you. One more question, and thank you for the thought and for the feeling. This is all about the feeling too. Thank you. One of the things I miss not teaching school was the current phrases that kids use these days. You know, and I think right now the best phrase I would say to that kind of feeling is that the commentary is that I feel you. You're on, Stavi. Thank you for seeing me. I'm glad you got our gift from my wife and I of the Rosa Passos Entre Amigos. It's a great record, man.
Yeah,
Happy birthday to you.
thank you so much, dear maestro. It's been a while, and first of all, early happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
And great to see you. And thanks for sending the album. And for everybody here in this chat, if you don't know this album, Entre Amigos of Maestro and Rosa Passos, who is a fantastic Brazilian singer, get it immediately. It's really one of my really top favorite albums ever. It's a wonderful album. It's such a, I don't know if you want to tell a bit about it, isn't it? Because it was Paulo Braga. You recorded it in Brazil, actually?
No, at a church in Manhattan.
Oh, really?
In Chelsea area, yeah.
But obviously the Paulo Braga, the famous Brazilian.
They all came to New York, man.
They all came to New York. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's an unbelievable, beautiful album. It's a great, so great to have it on vinyl now.
Yes, and it looks cover too.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful. Well, I won't take much more time of your precious time. I want to say really an early happy birthday.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything. Lots of love to you and Quintel. And wow, so great to see you. Keep healthy and all the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
One more, Zenith Apollo Star. You've been on it for a long time waiting to get a word in. It's your chance. Can't hear you.
Okay. There's one person that has a question about
Okay.
Can you
hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
I see you now, but I don't hear you. You muted. Yeah. Zenith Apollo Star. I can read your name.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Do you get paid before you walk on stage?
No. The answer is no.
Okay.
Do you have a gig for
I
me?
was just wondering. Who knows?
Well,
has a question.
maybe a few I'll answer differently. Yes, pay me before I go on stage.
Yeah. Somebody's using your comprehensive base method. And
Yes.
they have a question about
Yes.
that. On the more complex.
Mr. Hurdle. Is that who?
Excuse me.
Yes.
Hello, Mr. Yeah.
Yes.
Hello, Mr. Carter.
How are
Thank you
you?
very much for doing this. I'm a pianist from Germany, and of course, I admire your works. So, my question: I ordered your composition book, and my question is: do you prefer composing with the bass or with piano or different instruments? Because yeah,
Well,
that's the
when
question.
I'm writing, it's just me and the bass.
Okay.
And I may have a piano player play it if I get it done to see if it sounds what I think I'm sounding on my ear with a piano player who really plays piano, like
Okay.
Donald or Herbie. But I trust my sense of compositional skill. I've studied it. I've listened to a lot of wonderful composers. I've played. Whenever I work with certain composers who play only their book, it's like going to school free. Benny Golson only played his songs. Michel Legrand only played his songs. Randy Wilson only played his songs. So I've had enough experience playing these specific composers. If I give them undivided attention, I'm going to school free as a composition student to understand how they make this song work. And the more I understand how I think they want it to work, that helps my bass line after behind their solo because I know what they're aiming for. So I not only learn what to do to make them feel okay, I learn what to play when I want them to feel terrible. Look, I don't have their attention. So if I keep playing the F sharp on an A flat chord, I got their attention.
Yes, of course.
And I'll play E flat the next time around.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. and Mrs. My crew who will make this happen, I call them my NO, my necessary others. Do we have any time left for any more questions?
We're really down to the wire, Maestro. Can we maybe
Well,
one more?
I'll take one more from a woman.
Hello?
Hello? Any more women out there? Shows you how few women we have in the crew. Here's your chance.
Allison, answer one for your friend, for your partner. Allison, speak on his behalf.
What would you like to know?
Too late. Come on.
Can I ask you a question that somebody put in the chat? They're working on your base method book.
Okay, well, hold on with that question. We got a fish here. I've got to put, if I can reel him in.
Okay.
Okay.
Ask your
Yes.
We were on tour.
line.
Okay, come on.
We were on tour one time in Japan in the late 90s, and I was 98 with a Opera Italia, with a Baroque opera company from Toronto. I played early clarinets. Allison was playing recorder, or in flute rather, and one of the oboists and I were walking through the lobby, and she's from New York City. She said, "That's Ron Carter." And we were, I don't know if we even said hello. We were so in awe. But we got to the gig that night, to the Opera House, and said to the Baroque orchestra, "You'll never guess who we saw. We saw Ron Carter." And they all went, "Who?"
Yeah, it's just very unfortunate that sort of those worlds, it would be great if those worlds just connected more, right? That people just listened.
I'm
Did
concerned.
everything they could, right?
Yeah, I'm concerned with that. We missed a chance. They missed a chance to know what we do, and we missed a chance to hear some pure harmony without the Bud Powell chords and all the other stuff guys still throw in there,
Probably a VSOP tour, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, well, if they see my name, I'm working, so come see me. Don't be afraid.
Exactly. Thank you.
I'm using steel strings, so don't get mad at me. No more guts.
Yeah, but you keep recommending Bach. It's great. So
Yes. You can't beat it with a stick.
No.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
Jenny?
Yes.
Question with the book?
Yes. Salim Abdallah. He's working with the exercises in the comprehensive base method. On the more complex exercises with more subdivisions, is it okay to use your third finger to form chord shapes while navigating through the exercises, or is it best to use your fourth finger and maybe use a bar when you have to go from one string to the other?
To use a third finger, he said?
Yes. Is it okay to use your third finger?
I only use that in thumb position. I only use the third finger in thumb position. I'm playing 1, 2, 4 forever. Then I'll use the thumb on the harmonic G and on up 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, on up on the higher strings, but from G on back down to first position, half position, my fingering is 1, 2, 4. I never heard people who use the third finger in that area play really good in pitch. Maybe someone's doing it, I'm sure, because someone still plays that way, but I never heard them play with the kind of intonation that I have. And I have to be a standard because I'm hearing it.
Okay. To add on to that, so you're saying you only use a third finger in which position?
When I have the thumb position going up toward the bridge.
Okay.
There's a whole school that says that Art Davis, who played with John Coltrane for a while, put a method out using 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And from what little I heard of it, he had intonation problems. And I've seen classical players use 1, 2, 3, 4. And I haven't been thrilled that they can guarantee me playing that note in tune with that third finger. Until they can prove that to me, I'm 1, 2, 4 man, and I'm stuck until they tell me otherwise.
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for hanging around.
Thank you.
Vane, I know you have been waiting very patiently. Were you saying that properly? Van? Hello.
My name is Van.
Van, hello. Would you like to ask your question? You'll be the wrap-up birthday question person for the day.
Oh, well, thank you. I actually have appreciated Grant Carter through the years. I met you years ago when I was at the university doing music, and you were so good with students, and have only been to Minnesota a couple times. But keeping up with you, I noticed that you haven't published anything that says how you transitioned from the different levels of your music and the different places you've lived in, what your older self would say to your younger self. So I'm inviting you to come be on my podcast for Walker West Music Academy so I can ask you those questions.
Okay, well, you have how to reach me now. If you go back to my site and give them this information, we'll work it out. Van Hayes.
All right.
In the chat.
That's right.
Van Hayes. Yes, I remember you. Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Good to see you. And happy birthday early.
Thank you. I remember I did some concerts up in Minnesota where she's from, basically. And my first experience there was we went outside the hotel to go to the gig. It was so cold. When we got to the gig, like 2 blocks, my mustache was full of these fucking icicles. I said, no, we can't do this shit anymore. No, good night. Florida, wherever you are, see you as soon as I can. Ladies and gentlemen, it's nice to see you all here. We'll do this again approximately a month or so from now. And tell your friends who want some humor. They won't get it here all the time, but some things go by, they're pretty clever. And love you all. Season's greetings. Happy Easter a week late. And those of you who I can't see on May 4, I accept your greetings in advance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Ron.
God bless.
Thank
Thank you, Ron. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you so much. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Ron.
Wishes.
Thank you.
Birthday, stay healthy.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday, Ron, for making this so.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Ron.
Birthday.
See you on Tuesday.